I have a story for y'all, and it's a true story. There was a girl, okay, and she had a nephew who was beaten to death by her uncle. And she couldn't understand why God didn't stop him. Why God let that happen to a innocent person. And she just kept obsessing over it. And she was just so, her grandma had taught her about God. She was like, no. She started to doubt God. She was like, why is this? Why did that happen? How did that happen? How could God have let that happen? She's questioning God now. She questioned her life. She questioned God's existence. And she was just confused. And every night she cried herself to sleep. Every night. And then eventually she became suicidal. And one day she was like, okay, I'm ending it. I'm going to kill myself now. And then, so she came back from school. She came back from college one day. Right, yeah, college. And and she didn't expect it, but her grandmother was at the door. She's a Christian. Her grandmother was just sitting there inside her house, like, you're not okay. And so she said, you're coming to church with me. And the girl they got into a screaming match, and her grandma screamed at the top of her lungs, and the girl couldn't take it anymore. She was like, fine, I'll go. And in her head, she said, when I get there, she said, when I get home, I'm killing myself. So she went to church, and she hated everyone in there, especially the pastor. And then the pastor said, there's a suicidal spirit in the room. There's a suicidal spirit in the room. And the hairs on her neck stood on end, and she got up and was getting ready to leave, and a white-headed man stopped her at the door and said, God knows your pain. He sees you crying at night. God told him to say this. God sees you at night. He sees you crying. He knows your heart. He knows your pain. He knows your troubles. He knows what you went through. And he just wants you to know that he's always there for you. You may not have had a father on earth, but he's the greatest father there is. And it doesn't get better than him, because he's God. And he loves you with everything in him. And he said, do you want me to pray over you? And she accepted him. Now see, notice I said, she accepted him. Accepted it. And she was like, yes. And so he prayed over her. And she was like, at that moment, she realized that God was so holy and good. And that she realized that she was so not holy and not good. And from that day forward, she became a Christian. And she's still a Christian today. God knows your heart and he knows your pain. Even if you think God is not with you, even if you think God is not with you and he's ignoring you, or if he's not real, even if you doubt him, he doesn't doubt you. He doesn't forget about you. He always loves you, regardless of what you do, regardless of how you do it, and regardless of when you do it, because he's God. His grace is sufficient. His grace is abundant. His forgiveness and his love is immense. It's humongous. Nothing can separate you from it. He knows your heart and he knows your pain. He knows what you're going through, and he will never leave you nor forsake you. He will never leave you nor forsake you, and Jesus will be there with you until the ends of time. God knows your pain. Don't give up. He has you. Right when you feel you're about to give up, just pray. Or ask me to pray over you, because I will. I'm always here for you. God knows your heart. He knows your trouble. He knows your pain. Alright. In Jesus' name, I depart from you. Have a nice day.